So then we are back with more understandings from the time of the Second Tabernacle Services, where we find in the Aramaic English translation of the word. This translation comes from the original manuscripts of the prophets of the Tzayelic lineage. So then indicate for us understanding of the time of the end as per then Yeshayahu, the 61st chapter. And then from the prophet Daniel and the statesperson Daniel the prophet, he spoke of the time of the end, and then the base of the statue being of clay and of iron. Some nations would be strong, some nations would be weak. We understand the Eurozone is breaking. And then what would be for the new trades nation worldwide, China, how are they going to be dealing with the nations at the same time? From the scripture we find in Galah, Galah means revelation, but revelation is not part of it, because the section of revelation as we have belongs to the spring feast, belongs to the Gospels. So then, from the viewpoint of China, would China have any interest in interfering with our own computerized systems? No, they don't have any interest in it. The Chinese, they are not interested in interfering with our system. They are interested in buying it, as they already have linked up Bank of China and Citigroup. Then the mortgages, they are already involved with it. So when you realize by legal means they are buying this system, though we understand the trade of the mortgages of the past are a piece of junk, but they are buying this system. So the Chinese is not interested in our situations amongst the nations, neither of any kind of a computer problem. They understand our monetary system must be renewed in order for us to continue on. IMF already predicted. The Ozarks place over there is already built. So there are the steps of formation where we have to understand the time of the end, and based upon the facts given at the moment in terms of the Ozarks built, underground facilities, 72,000 squares in the midst of the forest. What do these areas then translate when you understand China and the system? They are not interested in interfering. They have the situation on their favor because of the time involved with our own monetary system. So then in terms of our relationship with other countries, they are not interested in interfering with it, not until our monetary system then is out of their trade. That's why they are waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And when the Chinese system comes in a form of a computerized download, then you have banking, then you have investment, as they do over there in New York Exchange. You can do this via computer. You can invest in products. Amongst the thousands of products of China, as they have those for sale and you invest on those, you receive a tiny share of a product. There are regulations, how much you invest, how much you then receive. And the same line you buy the products, the same line you receive. So there is no way of tracking it. That's why the Chinese, they are not interested in our situations with other countries. Observe the facts. The government has a place over there in the Ozarks. They are expecting civil war. They are expecting the breaking of the system. Why would the Chinese invent some sort of a problem in our system for? They have the timing counted then for their own purposes. So how would this downloading system of the Chinese in a shortly 36 months would be? They have the whole package already set aside. When the time comes, you download on your computer. Then when you have an institution of a closed circuitry, for instance, give an example, PayPal as one of them. The government can't go over there and play around with it because of Privacy Act. When you have your PayPal unit then dealing with the Chinese system, it's going to have an exchange of funding because of what you are earning. Yet through the same system you make purchases. We never thought of a system in line because we were always taught from child there is a piece of paper, or from the old times there is a coin, or there is a piece of gold with value. So then you have to have the condition of the material in your hand, and then for you to make a distinction of what it is and what not. So we consider then earning in a certain way and then buying in a certain way. The Chinese system, they have both of them in line, where then they are using the Private Act or the Privacy Act in order to protect you from the government coming in and taking taxes from. It's very smart. And that's why they are waiting and waiting and waiting. They are not interested in our computerized system. Every time there is a problem, they buy the system itself. They make it legal for the time being. But then watch the situation. You are working, you are paying your mortgage, you are linked with your bank. And the Chinese, they got their hands on a mortgage system. So you begin to link up those points. When the time comes, they're going to download the system. How is then the government going to take taxes from the closed circuitry from? How are they going to remove taxes from an area where they can't get linked up with? Every time there is a record of your earning with our money, then you have a record of it because of the Social Security and the type of monetary system you are using, because it's traceable, because it's domestic. There is no such when you do international. The international, they don't use your Social Security. They don't use your U.S. personal information. They have their own. And as they have developed the system for their use, they determine how you're going to use their system for their benefit, though you earn with it. So then a person asks you, what is the way out of it? Our government must come up with a system where they get taxes from every earning. From every citizen where there is earning, taxes should be removed instantly. If we can do this task, very exacting, when the Chinese system comes, then the government is already linked with those closed systems. Then when it's in line with the Chinese system, then the government has already a place where they can get taxes from. That's why the Chinese, they are not interested in our computerized systems as far as interference. They have the time on their behalf. So then, ever since we grew up with a monetary system, with a handling paper money, you have then yourself, you have work, and you have a piece of paper in your hand. You don't realize, but you make yourself a system when you purchase, and you make a system when you receive. So then you work, you receive, then you go out and you buy. Always simultaneous but never mixed. True? In the future, both of them is going to be a line of system. Those are combined. You don't have anymore the luxury of having a piece of paper in your hand and making your route to the supermarket, and then you give a piece of paper, you receive the exchange for it, or the change for it, depending what kind of a monetary system you use. Let's say US money. Go to the supermarket, you buy, you get your change, and then you go back home. Thus you have a system of buying. Then you place those in the pantry, and then you go to work the next day. Then it's another system where you earn. Prior of your receiving of the money, the government take its share. Doesn't it? Doesn't show up in your pay stub? Instant taxes. Could this be done with international earnings? If you do with the Chinese system in the future, it's going to be a closed circuit. They don't have any reference to get the money from. They don't have any legality upon this new system. They think they do, but they can't nose around in somebody else's computer's earnings. The internet is absolutely wide variety of ways of earning without paying taxes. Because of the closed circuit. And people, when they start earning from abroad, they have multiple places where they have certain amounts. Somebody else's name. So the money, then the earnings go from place to a place where the government can't maintain a track. So then both of those in the future, they're going to be in line. How is then the government is going to make a distinction from what you earn versus what you spend? So then, welcome to the new system of revelation. Every nation doing trade with China. That's how every nation in the planet is going to do trade with China, via a downloading in their computers. An example. When you buy a product from China, you pay for the product and you do not pay for freight. Wait a minute. It sounds ridiculous, but then when you have, for instance, the old-fashioned way, you would have then to have work, you have to earn, then you have to go to the store. Back in the old days, if you want your groceries to be delivered to your home, you had to pay for it. Most places were then normal. If you were an old customer, then they could do it sometimes for you at no charge. But then you buy the products, then you pay freight. It's in line, isn't it? When you do not pay freight, is in line, is it? But then there is a distinction. We have the same service. One of them you pay for freight, the other of them you don't pay for freight. Then comes the future. Then you buy in the same line of the closed circuitry and you receive from this closed circuitry. Because it's international. They are waiting for our monetary system to crash. Try to understand the link with it. It's not a lack of capability to do it at this moment. It is the system linking up when our monetary system expires in 36 months. At the moment, if the system was available, we would be able to make adjustments, to get taxes from, but it's not available yet. When our monetary system breaks, then they are going to come through. But then the government won't be able to do a fight against it. Because you have to have a monetary value in a system in order for you to get taxes from. And there won't be value with our money in the future. So timing, we're speaking of timing, a system and then timing. And then, in the future, when they will, for sure, have this system set up in place, obviously. But when they do, then they have to gather taxes and they have to control what they spend because the paper money won't be valuable. IMF already said many times we have to change our monetary system. So it's not the inability of doing the work and doing at the moment and then get taxes from every transaction. It's not at the moment. It's when our monetary system breaks. Because then the system jams. Then when they download their system, then you are online. Then not only the government is going to become very overwhelmed with the problem, plus then the monetary system, plus how are they going to take taxes from? For some people it would not make any sense. Because they have a system generating paper. To make up for what they don't have, they have to print out more money. But then devalues in the future. The second situation is after the gathering of taxes instantly from any person in this country. Every time any citizen, legal or non-legal, using a real name with somebody else's social security, or legal or non-legal. When a person is in the system, it's because there is a legal name and a legal number. As far as the person himself or herself being legal using somebody else's name and social security number, you don't know. But when you have a system instantly takes taxes from every transaction where there is earning, then the government is covered. Any system coming and linking up with any kind of a banking or security closed circuit, then the government is already included. It is the timing and the validity of the system yet, while it is active. So when we get this situated every time every citizen owning a computer that has a social security number, has a name, and earns. Has to have a banking, some sort of a funding system. Every time a person earns, there is taxes removed instantly. It's not then the government waiting for the company or then the person responsible for the system at the end of the deal then give you then the 6%, 6.5%, 7%, 10%. It's done in a real time. You make a purchase, then you are not charged. When you earn in the system, it's automatic taking taxes from. It doesn't go through the company managing the money. It goes straight to the government. So then we were brought up with many kinds of systems, and then simultaneously those would have working together. In order for you to make from A, B, C, D, E, you have to have a worthy person to understand. First comes A, first comes B, comes then C and D and E. If an unworthy person uses A and C, then it doesn't work. Thus we have developed a nation always trustworthy upon actions of the people. But the new system does not use these. Self-regulating means every time there is earning, the government receives taxes. There is no way of going around with it. And truly this system is going to be done. You know why? Because every nation of the planet is going to be doing trade with China. As we understand then, the scripture is always implicitly when you understand the context and the content. Knowledge would increase, Daniel the politician said. After 1,000 years of deceit, from 1009 to 2009, we are returned to the truth, where then the holy cities of the Messiah then return. Then knowledge would increase in order for the world to do trade. But then the ace card of the whole situation is when our system breaks, then comes the Chinese system, close the circuitry of funding. Because we were brought up many systems simultaneously, and then people managing those systems. The new system is already regulated. When our monetary system breaks, then comes the Chinese system. It's a new system where you download in a computer. Self-sustained system. Please stay tuned, much more coming up.